All right, strap in, everyone, because today we are diving deep, and I mean deep,
Oh, yeah.
into the world of information and reality.
I am so ready for this.
This source material is, it's intense. Information and the nature of reality, from physics to metaphysics.
I know, right?
It's a collection of essays by physicists, biologists, philosophers,
and don't forget,
theologians even, all wrestling with this idea that information could be the key to understanding, well, everything.
the universe, consciousness, you name it.
Exactly. So
It's all on the table.
what have I gotten myself into here?
Well, you see, we're used to thinking about the universe in terms of matter and energy, right?
Right.
But what if there's a third fundamental element, something
Yeah.
that shapes and defines reality?
So information is more than just
Data.
Yeah.
It's like the building block of reality.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get too far down the rabbit hole, let's start with something I can wrap my head around.
Okay, sounds good.
I don't know about you, but when I hear information, I think emails, memes, maybe my overstuffed hard drive. But this book takes us way beyond that, suggesting that information might be the bedrock of reality itself. Kind of like how a blacksmith needs both the raw material, like iron, and the information, the blueprint, to forge a sword.
That's a great analogy, and it highlights how our understanding of matter itself has evolved over time. We often take for granted that matter is just stuff, but philosophers have been debating this for ages.
Right. Even the ancient Greeks didn't see matter as just inert lumps. They were already thinking about potential change and what persists when things transform. You know, like what stays the same when wood burns into ash. Deep stuff. Then we fast forward to Newton, who needed a way to quantify that resistance to change, what we call inertia. He came up with the concept of mass, and that became the defining characteristic of matter for centuries.
It was a huge leap forward, allowing us to measure and predict the behavior of objects in the physical world. But then, in the 20th century, physics throws us a curveball.
Here we go. I knew there had to be a plot twist.
Einstein's theory of relativity comes along and blows everyone's minds by showing that mass and energy are actually two sides of the same coin. His famous equation, EMC squared, basically says that energy can be converted into mass and vice versa.
Okay, wait. So you're saying that matter isn't as solid and unchanging as we thought, but it's more like congealed energy?
Exactly. It challenges our intuitive understanding of matter as solid, fundamental stuff. And then things get even weirder with the advent of quantum mechanics.
Quantum mechanics. Always a recipe for mind-bending conversations.
Think of it this way. Quantum mechanics reveals that at the subatomic level, things get fuzzy and probabilistic. Instead of neat little billiard balls, particles behave more like waves, their positions and properties existing as potentialities rather than fixed states.
So, instead of saying, here's an electron sitting right here, it's more like, there's a chance of finding an electron in this general area.
Precisely. And it leads to some truly wild ideas, like particles popping in and out of existence, the vacuum of space teeming with energy, and even the mind-boggling suggestion that the entire universe has a finite information capacity.
Hold on. A finite information capacity, like the universe has a storage limit. Is it going to run out of space?
The idea is that there might be a limit to how much information the universe can hold. It's a concept that ties into black holes, cosmology, and even the fundamental limits of what we can know about the universe.
Okay. So matter is more like energy. Particles are fuzzy possibilities. And the universe might have a storage limit. It's official. My brain needs a break. But before we do, physicists, especially in the quantum world, seem to be all over this information thing.
Right.
What's that all about?
Well, you know how in the quantum realm, things get a little fuzzy?
Oh, yeah.
Particles don't have definite locations until they are observed.
Right. It's like they exist as a cloud of possibility.
Exactly. And the act of observing collapses that cloud into a specific state.
Okay.
And it's that collapse where
Yeah.
information comes into play.
So you're saying that observation isn't just passively seeing something, it's about bringing information into existence.
Exactly. It's like the universe is waiting for someone to ask a question before it gives an answer.
Whoa, okay.
It's pretty wild when you think about it.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for our understanding of, like, you know, the universe?
Well, for one thing,
Yeah.
it challenges the idea of a fixed, predetermined reality.
So instead of a clockwork universe that's just ticking along.
Exactly. We have a universe where Chance and potentiality are woven into the very fabric of existence. It's like the universe is constantly rolling the dice at the quantum level, and each roll creates new information shaping the reality we experience.
So the universe is constantly creating itself.
Well, that's what Seth Lloyd, a physicist in this book, argues, yeah.
Okay.
He proposes that the universe isn't just capable of computation. It is computation. Every interaction between particles, every quantum event is like a computational step.
Okay.
And the universe as a whole is this massive self-computing system, constantly evolving and generating new information.
Hold on. If we're living in a giant computer simulation, and I don't mean like the Matrix or anything.
Not that kind of simulation.
But a universe that IS computation?
Yeah.
What does that even mean for the laws of physics?
Oh, that's a fantastic question.
Are they just lines of code in this cosmic program?
Another physicist in the book, Paul Davies, explores that very idea.
Okay.
And he suggests that if the universe is fundamentally informational,
Yeah.
the laws of physics might have inherent limitations in their accuracy.
Oh, interesting.
It's like there's a finite amount of information available,
Okay.
a limit to the precision of the code, so to speak.
So the universe is like
Yeah.
inherently unpredictable.
In a way, yes.
Not just because our instruments aren't good enough, but because reality itself has like this built-in fuzziness.
Precisely. It really throws a wrench into our classical notions of cause and effect, determinism, the whole 9 yards.
My head is officially spinning.
Yeah.
I have to ask, if we're rethinking matter, what does that mean for the concept of information itself? How do we even define it in this new reality?
That's where philosophy steps in. To help us grapple with these big questions, philosopher Philip Clayton, in his chapter, takes us on a historical journey through different ways of thinking about matter and its relationship to information.
So going from particle physics to philosophy now. Talk about a mental workout.
It's all connected, see? One of the big debates in philosophy is whether everything, including our thoughts, emotions, and even consciousness, can be boiled down to just the laws of physics. This is the view called materialism.
So materialism is saying that everything is essentially just stuff. No room for anything beyond the physical world.
Right. And that's where materialism starts to run into trouble. It has
Yeah.
a really hard time explaining things like subjective experience, meaning, and values. How do you get from atoms bumping around to the feeling of love or the awe of looking at a starry night?
Yeah. There's definitely more to the human experience than just the physical stuff. Clayton seems to agree with that.
He does. Clayton argues that while physics gives us incredibly valuable insights into the workings of the universe, it doesn't tell the whole story. We need a way to talk about information that goes beyond just mass and energy. We need to account for how information is organized, interpreted, and how it creates meaning.
Okay. I'm starting to see where this is going. It's not just about the raw material, the stuff, but also about the information that shapes and organizes it, gives it meaning. But how do we even begin to define information in this broader sense?
That's where the book's authors offer a range of perspectives.
It's starting to feel like the universe is one giant information network. But where does this all lead? What are the bigger implications of seeing the world through this lens of information?
That's a great question. And it takes us to one of the most mind-blowing propositions in the book. The idea that the universe itself might be fundamentally made of information.
Wait, the universe made of information?
Yeah.
Like it's not just that information is important, it's that information is the primary stuff of reality.
That's the idea put forth by physicist Paul Davies in his chapter. He proposes the radical concept of it from bit, suggesting that physical reality might emerge from information.
It from bit. Okay. I need you to unpack that one slowly. My brain's already working overtime.
Think of it this way. Imagine a video game. All the characters, environments, and actions in the game are ultimately made of code, of information. Davies is suggesting that the universe might work in a similar way, with information as the underlying building block.
So, instead of saying matter is the fundamental stuff, we're saying information is the fundamental stuff. And matter is just a manifestation of that information.
Exactly. It's a mind-bending shift in perspective. And it leads to some fascinating questions about the nature of reality and our place within it.
Okay. I'm starting to see why this book is considered a brain buster.
Yeah.
But this idea of the universe as information, it's not just a philosophical abstraction, is it? It has actual implications for how we understand physics and cosmology.
Absolutely. Remember that earlier discussion about the universe having a finite information capacity? Davies connects this idea to black holes and the surface area of the observable universe itself.
So there might be a limit to how much information the universe can hold, And that limit is somehow related to black holes. That's mind-boggling.
It is, and it raises profound questions about the limits of what we can know and compute, even with the most advanced technologies.
Wow. It's like the universe itself is a giant computer with its own software, hardware, and maybe even a hard drive with a limited storage capacity.
If that doesn't blow your mind, I don't know what will.
Okay, I need a moment to catch my breath here.
And we haven't even touched on what information means for biology yet,
Oh, boy.
where things get even more complex.
All right, lead the way.
Buckle up.
I'm ready for the next level of mind-bending.
All right, let's talk biology.
Bring on the biology.
So think about how DNA encodes genetic information,
Right.
how cells communicate,
Yeah.
how organisms adapt and evolve.
Really?
Biological systems are these incredible examples of information processing and storage.
Yeah, it's like John Maynard Smith.
Oh, I love John Maynard Smith.
The evolutionary biologist said, information in biology always implies intentionality.
Oh, that's a good one.
Obviously not like conscious intention,
Not in the way we think about it.
but the kind of intention that emerges
Right.
through natural selection.
Exactly.
So genes are like symbols that have been
Yeah.
shaped by their effects on survival and reproduction.
They carry information about what works,
Yeah,
what survives.
survives. Okay.
It's like a blueprint for success, in a way.
But that information isn't just a rigid blueprint, right?
No, it's more like a recipe with built-in flexibility.
Okay.
Organisms can interpret and respond to their environment,
Right.
which influences how their genes are expressed.
Okay. So genes aren't destiny.
Nope, not at all.
Our environment, our experiences all play a role in shaping who we are.
Exactly. It's this beautiful dance between nature and nurture.
But how do we even measure information in a biological system?
That's a great question.
Can we quantify the information content of like an ecosystem?
Well, that's where things get a little tricky.
Okay.
It's one thing to measure bits and bytes in a computer,
Right.
but how do we quantify the complexity of a rainforest or the intricate dance of an ant colony?
Right.
And this is where Terence Deacon, a cognitive scientist,
Okay.
steps in with his concept of semantic information.
Semantic information.
Yeah.
Sounds fancy. What's the difference between that and just regular information?
Well, you see, Shannon's information theory,
Okay.
which is great for quantifying signal transmission,
Yeah.
doesn't capture the aboutness of information.
Okay.
It's meaning.
The meaning, right.
Yeah, Deacon argues that meaning arises from constraints
Okay.
from the work done to limit the potential variety of a system.
So even at the molecular level,
Yeah.
information isn't just about like
It's not just about...
our raw data. It's about relationships and how systems are shaped by their surroundings.
Exactly. It's about the context, the connections, the relationships that give information its meaning.
This is blowing my mind.
And this takes us into the fascinating world of biosemiotics.
Biosemiotics, what's that?
It's where we look at how living systems interpret and respond to information as signs, as meaningful signals.
You mean example?
Think about a bacterial cell navigating a nutrient gradient.
Okay.
It's not just reacting to chemical cues. It's
Sure.
interpreting those cues and making decisions
Okay.
based on its internal state and its goals.
So you're telling me that even bacteria have a degree of agency.
It seems that way, yes.
They're not just little robots blindly following instructions,
They're interpreting their world
Right.
and making choices based on their own internal logic.
which has been shaped by evolution and the need to survive.
Precisely. And that brings us to a really intriguing question.
Okay, hit me with it.
How is information connected to caring, to valuing?
That is intriguing. Organisms clearly care about surviving,
Of course.
reproducing,
Right.
finding food, avoiding danger.
All those basic things.
Yeah. And those cares drive their behavior.
And the information they process
Yeah.
and act upon.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Everything is connected.
So from simple organisms reacting to stimuli
Yeah.
to complex animals exhibiting social behaviors.
It's all part of this continuum of caring that's driven by the need to survive and thrive.
Right.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And we humans, with our self-awareness and consciousness, we represent like the pinnacle
In a way, yeah.
of this evolution of caring.
That's a fascinating proposition, and it raises some really profound questions about the nature of consciousness and the emergence of meaning.
Right. So we've gone from quantum fuzziness to bacterial agency to the evolution of caring.
I told you it would be a deep dive.
My brain needs a minute to catch up.
I know, right? That's a lot to take in.
We'll be back soon with more on information, reality,
Oh, there's so much more.
and maybe even a touch of the divine.
Can't wait.
Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back. I hope you all had a chance to grab some snacks.
So last time we left off with this intriguing idea, this idea that maybe the drive to survive, to thrive, is like deeply connected to the evolution of information and complexity.
Yeah, it's all about how information shapes life and how life shapes information.
It's a two-way street. I'm still processing that whole bacteria having agency thing.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
It's a real game changer.
Definitely makes you look at the world a little differently.
Yeah, for sure. And, you hinted that things were about to get even more philosophical, like we're heading into meaning, purpose, maybe even God.
That's right. We're going to tackle some of the really big questions today.
I'm a little nervous, to be honest,
I understand.
but mostly excited to see where this goes.
Well, let's dive in then. You provided us with some pretty thought-provoking material here.
I did my best.
And in this collection, the lines between science, philosophy, and theology, they start to blur in fascinating ways.
It's all connected, right?
It really is. Take Arthur Peacock, for example.
Okay, who's he?
He's a theologian and a biochemist.
Wow, interesting combination.
Right. He suggests that the sciences of complexity, they offer a new way to think about God's relationship to the world.
Okay, complexity and God, those are two things I wouldn't normally put together.
I know, it sounds a little counterintuitive at first.
It does. So what's the connection?
Well, Peacock argues for a concept called emergentist monism.
Emergentist monism.
Yes, it's a mouthful, I know. But basically, it's the idea that reality is this unified whole.
Okay.
But new levels of complexity emerge within that whole.
Okay.
Each with its own unique properties and causal powers.
So it's not just that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Right.
But the whole is actually influencing how the parts behave.
Exactly. Think of an ant colony.
Okay.
Each individual ant might seem pretty simple, but the colony as a whole exhibits incredible intelligence and organization.
It's like a superorganism.
Exactly. And Peacock uses the example of a biological organism as well.
Right.
You can't fully understand how an organism behaves just by studying its individual cells.
Makes sense.
The organization of those cells, the way they interact, it creates something new, something greater than just the sum of its parts.
So he's suggesting that God's relationship to the universe might be similar.
Exactly. God isn't some distant puppet master pulling strings,
Right.
but rather intimately involved in the unfolding of the universe, guiding the emergence of complexity and novelty.
So instead of a God who's out there somewhere,
Right.
we have a God who's like woven into the fabric of reality, working through the processes that we study in science.
And Peacock connects this with theistic naturalism.
Theistic naturalism.
Which is the idea that the natural processes we observe, the laws of physics, the unfolding of evolution,
Right.
are all expressions of God's creative activity.
So we don't need supernatural interventions to explain the universe.
No.
The wonders of the natural world are themselves reflections of the divine.
Exactly. The divine is in the details.
It's a pretty radical departure from, like, the traditional view of God.
It is. It's a more integrated view.
Okay, so far so good.
But Peacock takes it even further with the concept of Panentheism.
Panentheism.
This suggests that God is not just present in the world, but the world is in some sense within God.
Whoa. Okay, my brain needs a minute to catch up.
Yeah, it's a mind bender for sure.
So it's not a separation between God and the universe.
No, it's more of a nested reality.
Okay, like Russian nesting dolls.
Exactly. The universe exists within the greater being of God.
So God encompasses the universe while also being distinct from it.
That's right. Think of the relationship between a mind and a body.
Okay.
The mind needs the body to function and express itself.
Right.
But the mind is also more than just the physical matter of the brain.
Okay, I'm starting to get a glimpse of what Peacock is saying.
It's a complex but fascinating idea.
It is. So these ideas of emergentist monism, theistic naturalism, panentheism,
Yeah.
they're all trying to bridge the gap between science and religion,
Exactly, to find a more holistic understanding.
showing how our scientific understanding of the universe might actually point towards a deeper, more integrated view of God.
That's a great way to put it.
So where do we go from here?
Well, naturally, this leads to questions about how we understand God's actions in the world.
Right. If God isn't a supernatural being intervening from outside, how does God influence the course of events?
Exactly. It can't be a cosmic puppet master scenario.
And if the universe is this self-computing system constantly evolving based on its own code,
Right.
where does God fit in?
Well, that's where Keith Ward comes in.
Okay, who's Keith Ward?
He's a philosopher and theologian, and in his essay, he proposes the idea of God as the ultimate informational principle. principle.
The ultimate informational principle.
Yeah, so the information that shapes the universe, it's not just random. It reflects a deeper intelligence, a purposefulness that guides the unfolding of reality.
So the laws of physics, the intricate structures of life, the emergence of consciousness,
All of it?
they all point toward this deeper source of information.
Exactly.
A cosmic mind, if you will.
That's Ward's argument. He's not saying God dictates every event, but rather provides the framework, the informational code,
The blueprint, if you will.
well, that allows the universe to evolve and create.
So God is like the architect of the universe.
In a way, yes, think of it like the rules of a game.
Oh.
The rules don't determine every move,
Right.
but they create the space for creativity,
Right.
strategy, emergent complexity.
Interesting analogy.
So within that framework,
Yeah.
we have the freedom to make choices.
So it's not about having unlimited choices, but about making choices that are meaningful.
Exactly. Choices that resonate with our purpose, with the informational code that reflects our true nature, our connection to the divine.
That's beautiful. I love that idea.
It's about aligning ourselves with the deeper flow of the universe.
So instead of rebelling against the code, we're actually fulfilling it.
Exactly. By expressing our unique individuality, our creative potential.
That's a really empowering thought.
It is, and it suggests that God's informational code, it's not a rigid set of rules,
Okay.
but a framework for creativity, for the emergence of genuine novelty.
Wow, this whole conversation is really opening up new ways of thinking about God.
It is, isn't it?
Free will, even the meaning of life itself.
And we're just getting started.
Okay, what's next?
Well, John Hott, a theologian, picks up on this idea of novelty in his essay.
Okay.
He explores information as a measure of improbability.
Improbability.
Yes, so the more improbable an event,
Right.
the more information it carries.
So the more surprising something is, the more informative it is.
Exactly. Think about the emergence of life from non-living matter or the development of consciousness.
Right.
Incredibly unlikely events packed with information.
It's like a plot twist in a good novel.
Exactly. It catches you off guard.
Yeah.
But it also deepens the story.
Right.
Adds layers of meaning.
I like that analogy.
And Hott connects this with God's creative action.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, he argues that God isn't a designer who planned out every detail in advance.
Right, not a cosmic puppet master.
Exactly. God sets the stage, establishes the initial conditions, the fundamental laws of the universe.
Good ground rules.
But then God allows the story to unfold in unexpected ways, embracing the emergence of the improbable, the truly new.
So God is more like a storyteller than an engineer.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Planting seeds of possibility and then allowing the story to grow in ways we can't predict.
Exactly. And Hott argues that this view of God aligns with our scientific understanding of the universe.
Right, with its emphasis on evolution and complexity and emergence.
The universe is not a static, finished creation,
Right.
but an ongoing process of becoming, a story that's still being written.
And we're all characters in that story.
We are indeed, and our choices, our actions, contribute to the unfolding narrative.
That's incredibly inspiring.
It is. It gives us a sense of agency, of purpose.
But what about the darker chapters of that story?
Ah, yes, the problem of evil.
What about the suffering in the world? Does this whole information analogy hold up when we consider those realities?
That's a tough question, but Hott tackles it head on.
Okay, I'm listening.
He proposes that evil isn't some separate entity, some force opposed to God.
So where does it come from?
Well, Hott suggests that evil arises from the misuse of information.
Misuse of information.
Yeah, from the distortion of the code that underpins reality.
So it's like a virus in a computer program.
Exactly, or a musician playing a beautiful instrument out of tune.
Creating dissonance instead of harmony.
Precisely. It's a disruption of the natural order.
But if God is ultimately responsible for the code,
Yeah.
isn't God also responsible for the possibility of evil?
That's a complex theological question. But Hott argues that God's love for the world, God's desire for genuine relationship, it requires that we have the freedom to choose.
Even if that means we can choose wrongly.
Even if it means we can make mistakes. Because true love requires freedom.
The freedom to reject that love.
Yes, it's a risk that God is willing to take.
That's a really profound idea.
It is. It suggests that even the darkest chapters of the universe's story, they're part of a larger narrative of love and redemption.
Okay, so where do we go from here?
Well, I think it's time we delve into how this concept of information and the divine plays out in Christian theology specifically.
All right, let's do it. I'm ready for the next level. All right, so we've journeyed from quantum mechanics to evolutionary biology, and now we're stepping into the world of Christian theology.
That's right. It's all connected.
I have to admit, this idea of information as somehow connected to the divine, that's
It's a big one.
that's really intriguing.
Yeah.
But I'm also, I don't know, a little apprehensive.
Understandable. Theology can get...
It can be dense,
Yeah.
very complex. So how do we even begin to unpack this?
Well, these essays do a great job of bridging the gap between science and theology.
Okay.
One of the key concepts that emerges is the idea of the logos.
Okay, the logos, I vaguely remember this from philosophy classes.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Something about reason and order.
Right. In Greek philosophy, the logos is often associated with reason, order, and the principle of intelligibility, the underlying logic of the cosmos.
Okay.
But in Christian theology, it takes on a deeper meaning.
Okay.
The logos is identified with Jesus Christ.
Right, okay.
Understood as the Word of God through whom the world was created.
Ah, right. In the beginning was the Word.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see the connection to information here, but how does this ancient concept relate to our modern understanding of the universe?
Well, Niels Henrik Gregerson, a theologian in this collection, tackles that very question.
Okay.
He argues that the logos can be understood as the ultimate source of information.
The ultimate...
The divine intelligence that infuses the universe with meaning and purpose.
So it's not just that God created the universe and then stepped back,
Right.
but that God is somehow present within the universe, guiding its unfolding through the logos.
That's the idea. It's like this cosmic information flow.
Okay, so we're not just talking about information as bits and bytes.
No, it's much more than that.
But as a force that shapes reality itself, that guides the evolution of the universe from the Big Bang to the emergence of life and consciousness.
Exactly. It's the underlying principle of order and creativity.
This is mind-blowing stuff.
It is. And what's really interesting is that Gregerson sees this view of the logos as consistent with our scientific understanding of the universe as a self-organizing system.
Okay.
So the logos is like the software that runs the universe.
The software.
The information that underpins the processes of emergence and evolution.
This whole conversation is making me rethink the relationship between science and religion.
Me too. It's not about choosing one over the other, but seeing how they might complement each other.
Okay, I like
how
that.
they both contribute to our understanding of reality.
It's like science is revealing the how of the universe.
And theology is exploring the why.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And that leads us to some even deeper questions about the nature of Jesus Christ.
Oh boy, here we go.
If the logos is the information that shapes the universe,
Yeah.
and Jesus is the embodiment of the logos,
Right.
then how does that change our understanding of his life, his teachings, his significance?
Okay, those are some big questions.
They are, but they're worth wrestling with.
If Jesus is the Word made flesh,
Yeah.
does that mean he's like a walking, talking information packet from God?
Well, it's not quite that simple.
Okay.
Gregerson suggests that we can see Jesus's life and teachings as a revelation of the logos.
Okay.
A demonstration of the kind of love and wisdom that flows from the ultimate source of information.
Okay, so it's not about reducing Jesus to a data set,
No, not at all.
but about seeing his life as an expression of the divine information that underpins reality.
Exactly. He's showing us what it means to live in alignment with the logos, with the deepest truth of the universe.
And this leads us to the idea of redemption, which is a central concept in Christian theology.
It is. And if evil can be understood as a distortion of the universe's informational code,
Right, kind of cosmic dissonance.
then how does the logos address this?
Yeah. How does it heal that brokenness?
Well, Gregerson suggests that the logos is constantly working to restore the integrity of the code,
Okay.
to bring harmony back into the dissonant parts of the universe.
So it's an ongoing process.
It is, and it involves us as participants.
We're not just passive observers.
No, we're called to be agents of the logos in the world.
To embody that divine information in our own lives.
In our relationships, our actions, everything we do.
It's like we're part of this cosmic healing process.
Exactly, and Michael Welker, another theologian, adds another layer to this idea with his concept of the spiritual body.
The spiritual body. Okay, what's that about?
Well, he argues that our physical bodies aren't separate from the spiritual dimension,
Okay.
but can be transformed by the power of the logos.
By the flow of divine information.
Exactly. So it's not about escaping our bodies or transcending the material world,
Right.
but about integrating our physical and spiritual selves.
Okay, so allowing our bodies to become expressions of love, wisdom, and compassion.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
It's like our bodies are becoming part of the information flow of the logos.
Participating in the healing and transformation of the universe.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It really has.
We've gone from quantum mechanics to evolutionary biology to the depths of Christian theology, and it feels like information is the thread that connects it all.
It's a unifying principle, a way of understanding the interconnectedness of everything.
It's like a cosmic tapestry woven together by intelligence, creativity, and love.
All flowing from the ultimate source of information, the logos.
Wow, this has been mind-blowing, inspiring, and deeply challenging.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
My brain is definitely full.
Mine too, but it's a good kind of full.
Yeah.
It's the kind of full that makes you want to keep exploring, keep questioning, keep learning.
Absolutely, and I encourage everyone listening to check out this amazing collection of essays, Information and the Nature of Reality.
It's a great starting point for your own exploration of these big ideas.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.